Ready to roll? We'll call the meeting to order. It's a regular assembly meeting of September 20th at 6 p.m. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mark,
Here.
Jeff,
Here.
David,
Here.
Jay,
Here.
Chelsea,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Bob.
Here. Okay, we have a full assembly this evening with two members zooming in, and it's now time for the voluntary pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have approval of minutes for a regular assembly meeting, September 7th, 2021. I'd entertain a motion to approve those unless there are changes.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving these, say aye.
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 Okay, those minutes have been approved. Item 4, amendment and approval of tonight's meeting agenda. Are there any amendments for this evening? Member Tremblay.
Yes, I'd like to add a letter to the Forest Service as sent to us from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board onto action item, new business item, I guess C, behind the manager's performance evaluation.
Clerk Thompson, correct me if I'm mistaken, but can we add an action item if it wasn't advertised correctly?
Well, code doesn't say that we can't, but it is not our practice to do so. Our practice would be to wait till the next meeting.
Okay, then I'll just do that. I rescind my amendment.
Okay, so. Okay, are there any other amendments to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we'll move ahead. We have one public hearing this evening, and it's on ordinance 2021-16. This is an ordinance amending chapters 9.16, 14.04, 14.08, 14.12, and 14.16 of the municipal code to authorize creation and recording of a lien in favor of the borough in order to secure payment of delinquent fees, costs, and expenses. This is a public hearing on that ordinance. Are there any participants in the public hearing? Seeing none, that public hearing is closed. There are no bid awards this evening. Persons to be heard related to the agenda is item 7. Are there any persons called in or zoomed in, Clerk Thompson?
There are not for related to the agenda.
Okay, we'll move on to persons to be heard on items unrelated to tonight's agenda. And I understand there's one person that is zoomed in, and will you please keep the time? And the person's calling in, we have a 5-minute limit.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hello?
Okay, I have to start 5 minutes.
Yes, you do.
Greetings, everybody in the Great Petersburg, Alaska. My name is Hunky Lee, and I'm running for United States Senate next year as an independent Alaskan. I live in Wasilla, which is in Matsu Valley, and I did my homework and I studied history of Petersburg, and I understand it's like Tlingit Alaskan tribes. So I learned 3 words in Tlingit language. So like hello is like yake igi, and how are you is like wazayati. Thank you, gunalchish. So I'm very fascinated by Tlingit language, Tlingit culture. Also, I learned that some ancestors of Petersburg people from Norway back in 1800s. And so maybe a little bit about myself. I was born in Ithaca, New York, 1978. And I grew up in South Korea until I was like 18, 19 years old. Then I came to America in 1997. I studied computer science in Madison, Wisconsin. And then I did some postgraduate work in Ithaca, New York, Cornell University in computational biology. Then I dropped out of PhD program. and I moved to Los Angeles, California, to become an actor. So I also got a computer programmer job there and stayed there for 3 years, made one movie, which is I published in the YouTube. It's called Therapy for Metrophobia. So that was back in the days. And after that, I joined the US Army in San Jose, California. And we were trained in the basic combat training in Fort Benning, Georgia, then AIT in the Fort Gordon, Georgia. Then I got stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. And between 2011 and 2012, we deployed to Afghanistan. And after that, we came back to Fort Hood, Texas. And then after that, I applied and got admitted to Michigan Law School in Ann Arbor. So I graduated in 2 years with a law school degree. And then that was back in 2015. And then I moved to Alaska. That was 2015. Why? Because when I was in law school, I was watching all these Alaskan TV shows like Yukon Man and Alaska, the First Frontier, and the Last Frontier. Then also I watched this documentary of Mr. Hyman Korth of NY. I was so fascinated by Alaska. So I came to Alaska right after law school without knowing anybody, without any job lined up. So I was unemployed for 3 months. And finally, I got a computer programmer job. That was like back in 2015. And for 3 years until 2018, I've been like studying like Alaska bar exam to become a lawyer. And I finally passed back in 2018. So I got a lawyer job later on that year, which is the same lawyer job I have now. And so after I passed the Alaska bar exam in 2018, I got into like interested in politics. So I've been attending these local political meetings like borough assembly meetings and city council meetings in Matsu Valley. So, and then I decided to run. And last year I ran for Alaska State Senate, but I did not win. And this year I'm running for US Senate, which will happen like next year. So that's my biography. And I have 1 minute left. So what will be my political platform? Well, I believe we should keep our PFD, and Alaska should not have state level individual income tax like many other states do. So then how can we achieve that to keep the PFD? I think Alaska, we can develop industries in an environmental sound way. Petersburg, great industry of tourism and commercial fishing. That's fantastic. And but what if we can build like pebble mine or NY oil development in an environmentally sound fashion that can coexist with existing tourism and commercial fishing industry? I think I would push for that. So that will be my campaign platform. I understand this is not a very popular subject matter, but it's just my proposal to you. Okay, I think that's my time. So thank you, everybody. Nice to meet you. God bless Petersburg.
Okay, thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other persons interested in talking on items unrelated to tonight's agenda, Clerk Thompson?
There are not.
Okay, we'll move to the next item on the agenda this evening. Boards, commission, and committee reports. There are none. There are no items under item 10, the consent agenda, which brings us to report of other officers. And we have a report from Clerk Thompson, and she will provide a report to the Assembly regarding the October 2021 elections. So, Clerk Thompson.
Okay, I'll be brief. I don't think I need to have to actually read everything that's in the packet. But as you know, we do have 21 seats up for election. Not all of them have people running for them this year. We have 2 propositions on the ballot. Proposition number 1 is for all borough voters, and it will decide whether the borough shall issue electric utility revenue bonds in a total principal amount not to exceed $7.8 million for the purpose of refurbishment of the Blind Slough hydroelectric plant and construction of the Scow Bay standby generation project. If approved by the voters, the revenue obligation will be of the electric utility only. And then proposition number 2 is for Service Area 1 voters. And it will decide whether to reduce the boundaries of Borough Service Area 1 by removing Frederick Point East subdivision. I do request approval of a bunch of borough residents to serve as election officials. I'll read the list, and I'm adding one more that isn't on the list right now. Joe Bertignoli, Jerry Frostad, Newt Frostad, Aaron Hankins, Don Koenigs, Luann Madole, Karen Malcolm, Victoria Moore, Cindy Newman, Stephanie Payne, Patty Reed, Tina Sakamoto, Mary Thompson, Yvonne Tinas, Alice Williams, Sina Warhatch, and Erica Warhatch. And I do still need a couple more, so if anybody's interested, please contact me. I wanted to let you know, we also have 2 write-in candidates so far this year. We have one for school board, Carrie Case, for a 3-year term. And we have one for Public Safety Advisory Board, Mark M. Testany, for a 3-year term. And as of today, we have had 104 absentee ballots requested.
Okay, thank you for your report. With that being said, I'd entertain a motion to approve the list of people that Clerk Thompson just read off for
So
the
moved.
elections.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. So we have a election board.
Thank you.
Okay, mayor's report, very short. I'll use this thing again. October election, borough elections will be held on Tuesday, October 5th, 2021 in the community gym from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Absentee voting is currently taking place in the police training room of the municipal building from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday until 12 p.m. on Monday, October 4th, 2021. For more information, please contact Clerk Thompson at dthompson@petersburgak.gov or call at 772-5405. One thing I'm going to add to the mayor's report is I will not be present and probably won't be able to call in. I believe it's November 1st is the first meeting in November. So I will be out of town. So with that being said, we'll turn it over to the manager for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The streets crew assisted Parks and Rec with the removal of the staircase at Eagles Roost Park. It is was getting kind of dangerous. They're still working on seasonal road maintenance and will start prepping for our winter time very soon. Work continues on the motor pool shop repairs. Interior framing is mostly complete and the mechanical and electrical subs are working on their portions of the project. A revised sanitation ordinance has been drafted, is being reviewed by staff and the borough's attorney. It will be presented to the assembly at the next regular meeting on October 4th. Garbage bearers are still being reported, and along with the proposed revisions to the sanitation ordinance, we are working with local law enforcement and ADF&G to educate the public on what measures need to be taken to remedy the garbage bear problem. After a lot of updating at our waste oil system at the baler, we are once again able to burn waste oil, although we do have some work to still get done. We feel like the system is in very good shape and it should be able to keep pace with the heating needs and used oil deliveries from the Harbor Department. As many people already know, GCI will no longer be providing cable TV in the community. This actually affected a borough facility, which is the Manor. They've been working very hard for months to try to find a replacement solution for the residents up there that has adequate channels, lowest cost, and the closest service to what we currently have for elderly housing and assisted living residents. The building is not really wired for doing streaming, which is a limit. It's going to be a couple $100,000 to fix that, so we chose not to go that direction. We are able to use some existing current cable lines which will not involve the streaming. And I think it's going to end up costing us about $17,000 when it's all said and done. But we'll be able to provide similar service to what we had there before. Just a big reminder, Parks and Rec will be adding some additional parking at Sandy Beach to accommodate more usage of the area. Parking spots will be added behind Shelter 1 and additional parking will be added on the roadside. We'll also be replacing a culvert in the road going down to Shelter 1, and 2 dead trees will be removed for safety reasons. This work is slated to be completed during the last week of September. Youth basketball registration is open until September 25th. Season began on today, the 20th, and online registration is available or visit Parks and Rec to get signed up. Park restrooms will be closed on October 1st for the winter. And we had the auditors here all of last week, testing and sampling borough financial information for fiscal year 2021, with focus on the 3.9 million in CARES Act funds that were expended last year. Jody and her staff, as well as many other folks, did a great job working with them, and appreciate all that. Property taxes are due in the finance office by 4:30 on October 15th. And Alaska Housing Finance Corporation is accepting applications for a new Alaska Housing Rent Relief period through October 1st of 2021, providing up to 3 months of rent relief to eligible applicants who meet the federal requirements. Renters struggling due to COVID-19 pandemic are invited to check their eligibility and apply for Alaska Housing Rent Relief at alaskahousingrelief.org. Small Business Administration has a significant amount of funding available in the EIDL program, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and has expanded maximum loan amounts and uses of funds to include payment and prepayment of business debt, both past and present. Current borrowers may be eligible for increased loan amounts. More information online at sba.gov. Library is now open again on Mondays from 11 to 8. And we want to thank Matt Garretts and Andrea Weathers for doing an amazing job of taking care of the library grounds and planners this summer. The library will not be offering passport services from September 22nd through October 18th. And we're seeing about 100 unique visitors per day going to the borough website. So that's a big success. If you'd like to see changes or have improvements, please let Tara at the library know. The Ira 2 street sewer project will be kicking off this week. Once the contractor's materials are received, this work will impact traffic on Ira 2 Street for approximately a month. The wastewater department encourages anyone that must walk or drive through this area to be aware of heavy equipment, abide by traffic control signs, and avoid walking into the active work site as it progresses from 4th Street to 8th Street on Ira 2. Congratulations to a couple of folks. Power and Light has hired a new office manager and alignment apprentice. Sarah Abrakta is training to assume the office manager role once Sue Flannery retires on December 1st. And David Mazzella joined the line crew on August 23rd as an apprentice lineman. So welcome aboard. The final commissioning of the submarine cable was completed on August 11th. Power and Light ran the diesel plant on the 9th and the 11th to enable the work to be completed in a safe manner. Line crew will continue this month working on the installation of new LED streetlights on North Nordic and Sandy Beach Road, and work with the contractor for installation of 3 new 3-phase transformers at the Vackerstead apartments, working on providing service to also 3 local Verizon cell tower antennas. So it sounds like Verizon really means it about coming to town. The electrician continues to install our AMI meters in the harbor and perform inspections for electrical permits and work on supplying power to heat pump for the control room. The power plant mechanic hiked to Crystal Lake with the engineer hired to audit the owner's dam safety plan as mandated by FERC. The weather was so bad they couldn't get a helicopter in, so they had to hike it. So kudos to her and Bob Zemke. Staff recently assisted the engineers from EPS in the installation of a new electrical metering on a Caterpillar generator and also a new voltage regulator on one of the EMD 20 cylinders. And Power and Light was contacted by ADOT recently for a price to supply and install streetlights on Papke's Landing Road. This road is a state of Alaska right-of-way, and the request is a continuation of the legwork that Public Works Director Kata underwent last winter to contact ADOT following assembly inquiries. A quote for the install of up to 6 LED streetlights has been forwarded to DOT, and we're waiting to hear back on the acceptability of the quoted work. If approval is received, Power and Light will work to install the lights before winter fully sets in. The lights will then be made part of the maintenance agreement between Power and Light and DOT that accepts funds annually for the maintenance and operation of the streetlights within the Power and Light distribution system. And that's it, unless there's questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Giesbrecht. Any questions of the manager's report? Member Mucci.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question regarding the streetlights down Baptiste. Were they also looking at putting, was this quote, I guess, or the bid, was it also for the parking lot down there as well? A couple on the parking lot or up on the hill or just down the street?
I thought it was just the street. Carl or Chris, do you know?
Yeah, we gave them a quote for up to 6 lights, one starting at the intersection with the highway, up at the highway, and then one at the pole that is at the bottom of the line. It's adjacent to the parking lot, but I wouldn't say that there's going to be very good coverage on the parking lot. That was one of the bus stop locations that was pointed out by Chris. And so that's the location that we recommended a light to go in.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the manager on his report this evening? Seeing none. Thank you, Steve. That brings us to item 14, unfinished business. And the first item there is ordinance 2021-13. This is an ordinance amending section 3.08.080 of the municipal code entitled Quorum and Voting Requirements to allow assembly member participation by teleconference to be counted for purposes of determining a quorum. This is the third and final reading. I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance.
So moved.
Second. Motion been made by member Mucci, seconded by member Kinsinger. Any discussion? Member Tremblay.
I had a question or clarification about if somebody, so say there's 5 people, we make the quorum, but it's based on people calling into the teleconference. If somebody, say, loses coverage halfway through the meeting, does that invalidate the meeting because we no longer have quorum through the entirety of it?
Good question. I would think we need 4 people present through the whole meeting.
That's, yeah,
Is that
so,
what your concern was?
yeah, so if people are concerned, if people are concerned that somebody might call in, say, only for the first half of a meeting because there's a vote that they're particularly invested in, but then they are not able to stay for the whole thing, it does provide, in my mind, some form of insurance that people are committed to being there for the duration of the meeting for the sake of quorum. And so that would prevent that kind of activity from taking place. Am I correct? And I guess I'm trying to talk it out for people who may have thought of that
Clerk
situation.
Thompson, your take on this, and then I'll recognize member Kinsinger.
Sure. Well, I believe that if that were to happen, let's say they're, like you say, you get dropped and you can no longer participate. At that point, I don't know that it necessarily invalidates everything that's happened in the meeting to that point. But what I do think is that we would stop the meeting
Mhm.
Yeah.
and we would postpone it and take it up again when we could.
Okay.
Mhm.
Member Kinsinger.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, my understanding of Robert Rules of Order state that you have to have 4 people. And the only thing, so if you have 2 people in the room and 2 people on the phone and 2 people on the phone drop off, you
No longer
just like if we had 4 of us in a room and 2 of us got up and walked out, you couldn't continue the meeting.
Correct.
So it's no different than what's already here.
Okay, thank you. And
Okay, member Tremblay.
yeah, just that I'm going to be supporting this because in my mind, this does just provide more flexibility for keeping borough business moving, even when life takes us other places. And I do feel assured that the Robert's Rules order keeps the integrity of assembly decisions and assembly business moving, whether or not it's in person or teleconference. So I'll be voting to support this for that flexibility.
Any other discussion? Member Stan Gregor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I would just briefly echo what Member Tremblay said, and I know I spoke to this during the first 2 readings, but I think it increases our ability to do borough business, which I think in turn also ensures we're doing our job for the public. So I'm looking up at the screen, I see members Norheim and Lynn. I don't feel like there's a barrier to their participation. I think the video conference is far superior to when we're using the GCI phone system in terms of integration of the other members. So again, I'll be voting yes today. Thanks.
Any other discussion on ordinance 2021-13? Member Norheim, did I see you?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where to put my hand. As far, I'm obviously for it. As far as the people not being able to face us, being in the chamber, I'm right there with you on that. Nobody's going to tell me I can't be in that chamber under any circumstances unless I've agreed to it first. But it's a really small town. If you want to come talk to me face to face, it's really easy to find me. It's really easy to find any of us, really. We have the Petersburg property map. Our property is listed for the public to find. So you could just go to somebody's house, knock on the door and be like, hey, I'm going to talk to you. It's a little rude, maybe, but it's not hard to find anybody in this town if you really want to.
Okay, any other input on this ordinance? Clerk, call the roll.
David,
Yes.
Mark,
No.
Chelsea,
Yes.
Bob,
No.
Jay,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2021-13 passes in its third and final reading with members Lynn and Mayor Jensen opposed. That brings us to ordinance 2021-16. This is an ordinance amending chapters 9.16, 14.04, 14.08, 14.12, and 14.16 of the municipal code to authorize creation and recording of a lien in favor of the borough in order to secure payment of delinquent fees, costs, and expenses. This is the second reading. I'd entertain a motion to approve this ordinance in its second reading.
So move. Second.
Motion's been made by member Mucci, seconded by member Kinsinger. Any discussion on this ordinance?
Yes, Mr.
Member
Mayor.
Lynn?
Yeah, I have two questions on it. The first one relates to the fees. And what we did is we've stated in there the fees for filing. But it seems to me that those fees are going to change over time. And so that would invalidate this ordinance really quickly. Should that be changed in such a way that it would be open-ended so you don't have to amend it all the time? That would be my first question. And my second question is, as I read through this, should there be some kind of an administrative fee, because it does take time to do the filing, and it does take time to do other things. I don't see an administrative fee in this in any place.
Can anybody answer that, Liz?
Through the mayor, thank you. That actually in section 3, section D amends it. So there is administrative fee. It's a $50 administrative fee plus the recorder's filing fee. So the recorder's filing fee is the one that would change based on what the state recorder's office is charging. Usually right now it's $20 for the first page, and then I think it's $5 for every page after that. So it would just go with that fee, and then we're adding a $50 administrative fee on top of that.
Does that address your question on that part of it, member Lynn?
Yeah, that addresses part of it. I still think it'd be better to put it open-ended in terms of the filing fee, so that you would charge whatever the going filing fee was, and you could keep this much more current. But I'm okay with it, with what's in there.
And you had another question, member Lynn, or was that it?
No, that was it, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other input on this ordinance? Clerk, please call the roll.
Jeff,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Chelsea,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2021-16 passes unanimously in its second reading. New business, item 15. There's one item or two items under new business. The first one is Entrance Island Dock, Kupernoff Dock, and Papke's Dock. Assembly member Mucci wishes to direct Manager Giesbrecht to begin discussions with the state DOT about resolving the ownership or transfer of ownership of the Entrance Island Dock, the Kupernoff Dock, and the Papke's Dock. So I'd entertain a motion to direct the manager to start the conversation with DOT.
So move.
Second. Motion's been made by member Mucci, seconded by member Kinsinger. Any discussion? Member Mucci?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we've talked about this before. This is just, we've been provided a little bit more information from the city of Kupernoff with a letter of support and their position on the docks. My intent here is just to, with this motion, is to give the city manager direction to enter into discussions with the state in trying to get these 3 docks, the ownership of the docks over to the borough, or either whatever we want to decide to do with the entrance island dock. I've talked with Steve several times over the last couple of weeks, and I think I understand better what I was trying to do, and I think Steve might have something to add to the conversation as well. But I think it's we're spending money for design on something that we don't own yet. I think there's infrastructure money coming down the pike eventually here in the next several years, and I think the conversation with DOT, DNR, or whoever's involved could take a while. And I think it can't hurt to start talking about it right now. So that's where I'm at right now. Thank you.
Member Lynn?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a problem with parts of this. Entrance Island, I think, I don't think any of us or all of us would agree that that's probably not something we want. Kupernoff, I thought had Kupernoff provided us an excellent letter. And there's really, other than to negotiate, for them for the dock at some point, there's nothing, no issues there. So to me, the issue that really needs to be explored is Papke's, because Papke's has multiple ownerships with DNR and possibly Mental Health Trust and DOT there. And the legal part of that in terms of the ownership is a real, what do I want to call it, kind of a bag of worms, so to speak, that needs to be sorted out. And I think that's the one that, from my perspective, and unfortunately, I use it all the time, but from my perspective, that's the one that probably needs the most work on, and the one that would receive most of the attention. So with that, I would like to amend or provide a different motion to put on the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Make your motion. I mean, you need to amend what's been put before us, I believe.
I would like to amend the dock issue to approve authorizing Manager Giesbrick to open up discussions with Alaska DNR, DOT, and any other agencies regarding the process of getting ownership of the Papke's dock, ramps, and parking areas.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made by member Lynn and seconded by member Stanton Greger, and it sounds to me like the motion was basically just addressing Papke's landing dock and not Kupernoff and Entrance Island at this time. Is that correct, member Lynn?
That is correct.
Okay, discussion on the amendment. Member Kinsinger. Okay.
I agree what member Lynn is trying to say. And I'll be giving a report here a little later in a discussion I had with DOT at Southeast Conference regarding these facilities. The long and short of it is they're more than willing to let us have one of them, two of them, or all of them, our choice. So the issue isn't necessarily going to be trying to convince DOT to give them to us. But I do agree with member Lynn that the thorniest issue that we're dealing with at least the Papke's landing dock is figuring out what we need to do to make sure that DOT assists us in getting DNR to give us title to that land. And I think that'll probably be one of the more difficult things to do. As far as the Kupernoff dock is concerned, I feel that the city of Kupernoff should take the lead on this, and that we be in an advisory role to them and assist them in whatever they think they would like to do. And as far as Entrance Island is concerned, I think there's pretty widespread agreement that nobody really utilizes that facility, and we don't want to take on the obligation of that facility. So I would suggest that we don't spend a whole lot of time on that. And DOT recognized that they would have to be responsible for removing the float and would probably leave the pilings in. And if it's somebody at some point in the future wanted to take it over, that would be an option. But they have no intentions of maintaining it or really maintaining any of these facilities.
Member Stan Gregor?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the manager, as always, cut me off at any point when speaking out of turn, but having been through this process of talking about the different facilities through the years, I think Member Kensinger hit it on the head that bridging that gap with DNR is really where the rubber meets the road. I'm aware of the complexities of ownership of PAPKs, and I just wanted to hear from you is, simply put, if that's something you feel comfortable just opening that dialogue and seeing if DOT would be comfortable, trying to bridge that gap. And again, I'm aware that things move very slow with DNR. I'm not an optimistic person in the short run. And then I think the follow-up to that's going to be cool. Let's say even DNR does, cooperate on that, which again, I'm pessimistic on. That'll open up a broader conversation for us as an assembly than is like how we're going to pay for it. The idea of can we do something is very different as opposed to, is this fiscally responsible to? Anyways, to the DNR point, if you would please, it seems like feasible to open that dialogue.
Through the mayor. Yeah, I mean, DNR is going to be the key issue particularly on PAPKs because they own a lot of property. They own the water underneath the dock. And we don't want to get surprised by a payment, a lease payment that the DOT or DNR may suddenly ask for if the borough owned the dock itself. So just kind of sorting that out with DNR, I think is pretty important if you want to pursue this. And that starts with finding out who the right people to talk to. It's probably going to involve getting our lobbyists on it and then, a meeting with those folks to find out what their process is and then bringing that back to the assembly to say, here's what they're telling me. How do you want to approach this? I mean, dealing with DNR, Liz can, write books about it, but it's going to take a while and we're likely going to have to use our legislative help to speed it along potentially. So getting started on that is not a bad thing.
Thanks, appreciate the clarification.
Any other input on this? Member Mucci, and this is on the amendment to remove Entrance Island and Kupernoff Dock from the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think Bob or Member Lynn and I, we kind of want the same thing, but I want the big picture here. DOT is asking or will ask us what we want to do with the Entrance Island dock. And we need to address all the docks within the borough. For me, the low hanging fruit would be the Entrance Island dock. I think in the conversations we've had on and off here that the dock is sinking. We understand that. The state knows it's a liability. The borough really doesn't want much to do with it as far as I could tell. So that would be something that would be a simple agreement to have to figure out with the state. PAPKs is going to be, it'll be a little bit tricky, but I don't want to tie the hands of the city manager about having them just focus on that. And in my opinion, I think the Kupernoff Dock is going to be one of the bigger ones. I think there's lots of things in play with the Kupernoff Docks. I think different people have different visions for what they'd like to see over there. My intention when I brought this forward is just, if the borough can help facilitate that transfer to the borough so that the borough can let the city of Kupernoff manage it, take care of it, fund it for grants. I mean, I just want to see the whole picture taken care of. I think this is an opportunity for us to talk with DOT and move forward with this. Steve will be talking, if we pass this, to the DOT about how to resolve the PAPKs thing. But I'm looking at the whole picture within the borough, not just one dock. And I think this is an opportunity where Steve shines really well, negotiating with folks and talking to folks about moving forward. So I'm not going to support the amendment. So thank you very much.
Any other input on the amendment? Member Lynn.
Yeah, just to clarify, my amendment focuses on PAPKs, but at some point down the line, that doesn't say we can't enter into or the manager or the assembly for that matter cannot get into the other areas, both Kupernoff and Entrance Island at some point in the future. This, I was trying to focus the effort here. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other input on the amendment? Member Norheim.
I just had a question. If we're not interested in the Entrance Island dock, and say the state does remove it and we inherit 3 piling. What exactly is, why would we want those 3 piling? If the state's already going to remove the dock, can't they just remove the piling too? If they're interested in just handing us 2 of them without the entrance island, why bother grabbing these piling, which maybe somebody ties up to one and it falls in half. It happens at the cannery all the time. Now you've got a lawsuit on your hands because your piling fell over on somebody's boat that you've never looked at for years because when was the last time you guys were out there? It's been a year for me. And I know we don't want to maintain piling just as much as we don't want to maintain a sinking dock. I think that this amendment is good. It directs things better and it doesn't seem to, I like the focus of the amendment here.
Okay, any other input? Member Kensinger.
Just clarification, to Member Norheim, we wouldn't have to take the entrance island dock. We wouldn't have to do anything with it or to it. It would still remain part of DOT, we don't have to take ownership of the 3 piling if they remove the dock. That was my understanding, but hopefully the manager could clarify that in his discussions.
Okay, any other input on the amendment to remove entrance island dock and Kupernoff Dock from the discussions if we pass this motion? Clerk, call the roll.
Taylor,
Yes.
Chelsea,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes,
Jeff,
No.
David,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Mark,
No. So the amendment passes with a 5-2 vote. And now we're on to the main motion as amended to remove entrance island dock and Kupernoff Dock from the discussion if we move forward with direction to the manager to have that conversation. Discussion on the main motion as amended. Member Stan Gregor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify for anyone listening at home was wondering, didn't you guys just talk about this and didn't Member Stanton Gregor vote no on this a couple of weeks ago? And I did. I will be voting yes on this tonight, though, given some of the DOT's, amenableness to getting out of that business. I think it's not simple, but I think the key piece in my mind is that the relationship between DOT and DNR and bridging that gap. And if some conversations with the manager can at least steer us in a direction where we know if it's feasible or not. Because we don't know if this is a feasible thing or not, if we pencil it out long term. But I think it's a very harmless first step to see if we could bridge something. I don't think the right word is negotiation, because the state isn't going to negotiate with us. If they can help bridge the gap with DNR, I think it's worth pursuing that discussion. Thanks.
Any other input on the motion as amended? Member Tremblay?
Thank you. I'll also be voting yes. I like the narrowed scope of this versus how it was presented to us last time. And I would be open to possibly joint work session with the city of Kupernoff to talk about the Kupernoff dock specifically. I think that it's worth letting the details of each dock keep the conversation moving forward. And so I think that Papke's is in a state of urgency, and I know that this is going to be a long conversation, and so getting it started sooner than later is important. So thank you to Assemblymember Mucci for bringing this forward. I know it's different than how it was brought to us, but I think that the spirit of the conversation moving forward is ultimately very important.
Any other input? Member Kensinger?
Yes, I agree with Member Tremblay. In that, what I'd like to see in the future is the city of Kupernoff reach out to us and we can have the discussion and dialogue with them on specifically what course of action they want us to take. And so I know they've sent us a letter on what they want to do, and I agree maybe we should have some sort of work session with them to find out what direction they want to take. And I definitely support them in their efforts and us facilitating, helping them get what they want to have done to the Kupernoff dock.
Any other assembly members have input on this? My concern is you know, I don't see a problem with the discussion. I think it's gonna be a long-winded discussion. My concern is, how are we gonna pay for it if we get ownership? How are we, I mean, there's talk of infrastructure money coming down the road. That's, you know, that's in the news, that's for sure. But is it really gonna take place, and would we get it? Even if it did, and we got these facilities, how are we gonna operate and maintain them? What the enterprise fund is gonna be responsible for that? So it's, those are my concerns in the long term, if we move forward with this. The discussion, I think, is okay to start. I guess that's all we're voting on, so I will probably support it just for that. Only. But yes, we have to address it again when it comes to the ownership part. And see a lot of expense and the revenue stream to support that expense is, you know, just sky.
If you called on me, I was letting you know that the audio.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and then see if we can get this figured out. So.
Sorry, gentlemen, I had to turn off the sound system and turn it back on. So we're on a little break for just a minute.
Okay.
Time I did this, I flew into Bozeman and rented a car and drove over to Platten on the way. Had a big expedition, they wanted a big car for the ride and almost wrecked. Semi almost swerved in, and it was white out. It was, that our system was functioning.
Game on.
Okay, all right, you guys hear us all right?
Roger.
Member Norheim?
Yeah. Am I muted?
Yeah, you were talking when we had to take a little break.
Oh, I was just trying to let you know that I couldn't understand a word you were saying. It was audio was gone.
Likewise, that's resolved. You're coming in loud and clear. Okay,
Okay.
is there any other discussion on giving the manager direction to start the conversation with DOT and other entities involved in this potential transfer on the Papke's dock? Is there any other input? Clerk, call the roll.
Taylor,
Yes.
Chelsea,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Jeff, David,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Mart,
No. Okay, so that passes with the 5-2 vote. So Manager Giesbrick, you'll keep us informed.
Is that 5-2?
6-1,
6-1, okay. Sorry.
Is that
6-1.
6-1? Member Lynn voted yes? Oh, he did. No hearing aid, sorry.
It's
I
okay.
left him on the counter. Okay, item B under new business, Manager Giesbrick's 2021 performance evaluation. The Assembly will consider approval of Manager Giesbrick's 2021 performance evaluation. I'd entertain a motion to approve Manager Giesbrick's evaluation for 2021.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Member Stanton Gregor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly wanted to, for those listening at home, Member Lynn and I went over the performance evaluation with the manager, and I really appreciated the healthy discussion with you, Steve and Bob, and I thought went well. We got to go over it piece by piece, and it was a good process. That's all.
Any other input on the manager's evaluation? Will the clerk call the roll? This is for approval of the manager's 2021 evaluation.
Jay,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Kelsey,
Yes.
Mart,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes,
David.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 16, communications. There were no communications received, so there will be none on the borough website to be recorded at this meeting. Assembly discussion items. Member Kinsinger, you have a report, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yeah, I want to give a report on my meeting last week to Haynes and Southeast Conference. Kind of a fortunate or unfortunate, depending upon your perspective. Senator Murkowski and Randy Rohrer, the Governor Dunleavy's chief of staff, traveled to the conference on the ferry. So I was able to spend quite a bit of time with them and answer many of the questions they had about infrastructure projects in the community. And I've also invited Senator Murkowski to come to address the community at the Chamber of Commerce banquet. This is tentatively planned during the President's Day congressional break in February. She also emphasized and wanted me to relay to you, the Assembly, that it's important for us to have as mature as possible plans for the numerous projects that are priorities for the community. You know, and I just gave her the list that we had talked about and we had passed earlier in the year. She brought 4 staff members, so I had ample time to answer questions, and they'll work with us to fund the project if the infrastructure bill passes. It's a very complicated bill, and all credit to Senator Murkowski. She loaded it up with a lot of goodies for Alaska. And I've heard several comments made. It is a once in a generation opportunity. Senator Sullivan's aide, new aide, Chad, I forgot his last name, but he used to be Congressman Young's aide, was also in attendance. And we had some very interesting discussions about maintaining a large Coast Guard presence in the community by working to Homeport, one of the 3 inland buoy tenders. The other thing was Southeast Conference is sponsoring an EDA grant. I didn't hear back from Robert Venables today on that, but it's a grant that would allow for the installation of a pump out station at the drive down dock. It's about an $85,000 grant with a community match of up to $16,000. And then I also talked at length to Lance Merrick, who and his staff from DOT about issues in Petersburg. He attended high school in Petersburg for 2 years, so is very familiar with the lay of the land in the community. And we talked at length about the 3 DOT docks in the borough. Basically, they are willing to deed all or 1 or 2 to the community. And we can't expect any money from DOT, but we automatically, if the governor doesn't veto it, expect up to half of the money for refurbishment of these docks from the state. And in discussion with his staff, it appears that we can use this money for a match for any federal funds. So I agree with the mayor, this is a long ways away, but you know, we got to start on doing something right now. And DOT is eager at this point to transfer any and all state infrastructure in the community that we wish to take. There's very many informative presentations that are available that were at the conference that are available at the Southeast Conference website. One of the most interesting one, which I propose that we consider, is from Jason Green from Alaskans for Better Elections. This is a nonpartisan group that sponsored the voter initiative that we passed last fall. If the assembly wishes, he would be willing to come to town to give us a presentation on how our voting will work in the next election. And if the assembly wishes, I would suggest sometime after the first of the year. He was possibly going to try and put in a road show to some of the other communities in town. There's quite a bit of confusion about this, and there's a lot more in that initiative than I think a lot of us are aware of. So I think it'd be instructive for us and to invite him to town at some point in the future. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for your report and thanks for attending. Any other members have comments this evening? Member Tremblay.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to highlight the press release that Petersburg Medical Center issued at about 4:30 this evening. They're reporting 8 new active COVID cases today with several tests pending. And this is from their press release. Public health contact tracing has been initiated. However, the nature of exposure for some of these cases is most likely community spread, not travel related. In order to limit the spread of infection to others, persons who test positive are urged to immediately notify their close contacts and cooperate with the confidential public health contact tracing process. The caller ID may be from Petersburg Public Health, Anchorage, or out of Alaska, as the state of Alaska is contracting with a company in the lower 48 to assist with contact tracing. So there will be pop-up asymptomatic testing tomorrow, the 21st. That's from 4 to 6 p.m. at PMC next door to Public Health. Takes just a couple minutes. It's really great. And a reminder that there is still travel testing Monday through Saturday, noon to 4 p.m. That's at the ER entrance, as well as the weekly now asymptomatic testing Thursday, that's the 23rd, from 9 to noon at PMC next door to Public Health. And there is symptomatic testing or post-contact testing available by appointment. And that's 907-772-5788. And so, yeah, just wanted to, since that did happen this evening, I don't know if everybody had a chance to hear about it. There are some cases in this school. So the school is assisting with contact tracing of close contacts of students. So just hope everyone stays safe. Thank you for wearing masks preemptively just to help keep this under control. We're all heading inside as the harvest moon sends us more darkness and we go indoors. So thank you for taking care of each other.
All right, thank you for that. Member Stan Gregor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Those in the chambers can see I'm wearing my I voted sticker. So I was going to encourage everyone to vote, as was mentioned in the mayor's report, downstairs here in the borough offices in the police training room. I'm of the opinion that voting is not just a privilege, it is truly our civic duty because democracy takes work. It's a pretty fragile thing. And we have several contested races, and the people we elect will then be elected to make decisions for the school, and the hospital, the borough. It is critically important that we fill in those little ovals to exercise our duty in a democracy. So please, please, I implore you, vote. Thanks.
All right, thank you for that. Any other members have comments? Recognitions, are there any recognitions this evening?
Yep.
From
Uh,
Member Lynn, sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, as many of you know, I just went through Canada and came back through Canada. And I have to say that and the rules are you have to be tested within 72 hours of going into Canada and 72 hours coming the other way. Of course, you go through Canada again. And there's a whole litany of app you have to go through and fill out. But what I want to talk about for just a second is how fortunate we are here. We had no problem getting tested within 72 hours going north. Coming south, though, that was a whole different kettle of fish with the cases that are exploding in the interior. 2 of the communities we tried to get tested in will have totally reserved their test kits to only local residents. We had to go to, there was only 2 places in the state that we could get tested in the time frame we needed. One was in Wasilla and one was Fairbanks. And both of those, each test was $275 a piece. We could have got tested in some of the other communities, but it was like 2 weeks later. So I have to say that with our medical center here, we can be very thankful for what we have and what they've offered this community. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you for that, Member Lynn. Any other members have comments this evening? Member Norheim?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think it would be a good idea to have that Alaskans for Better Elections guy come to town and just have a little presentation. I think that single transferable voting is the best way that we could possibly be doing this. It's probably better known as ranked choice. That's what we voted on. And I feel like maybe the community, we'll see how it goes in the state first, but maybe eventually the community could adopt such a thing too.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from assembly members? Anybody have any recognitions this evening, the staff or assembly members have any recognitions? With that being no interest, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody, imagine that.